I'm gonna wait for everything to catch up. Hello, friends. Welcome to Live Coding with me, Rachel. All right, that looks like that's working. Fantastic. Offline 8 seconds ago. That's no good. Okay, now it looks okay for some reason. Deeply weird. Hi, welcome to Live Coding. I've been having some trouble with connectivity issues in my live streaming recently, so please bear with me. What are we doing? So, broadly, what we're doing is we have a project that we've been working on for a while, and it is recreating the New York Times Dialect quiz, which I'll pull up now, like I do at the beginning of every stream, just about. So this is a quiz where you go through and you answer some multiple choice questions, and then it will guess, well, it'll sort of like run a classification model and say, here's where in the United States people speak most like you based on this large survey data set. And actually, I am lucky enough to have the same large survey data set, courtesy of BurtVox, that I do not have permission to share, which is why the work that we've been doing recently with the model building, I have not been open sourcing. I'll probably open source the code eventually, but the big downside is that you won't be able to run any of it, right? So that's our current state. So we actually do have, for those of you who are joining for the first time, a working assistant. So you get all the questions. Nice to see you. Ooh, okay. Tafika-zaman? Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm almost certainly am saying that wrong. So we have a working assistant. You say hello, it asks you if you want to take a quiz. If you say yes, you get a quiz. You're asked a bunch of questions, you give your answers. We've done data validation with the answers, so fuzzy matching to match it to the closest of the multiple choice answers. If it's none of that, it gets passed to other. And then we run a classifier and we give the data back, the results of the classifier back. Unfortunately, the first classifier we built gave nonsense answers. And I think the reason that it did that is that we didn't have the data dictionary, and the data was given to me already encoded, like with categorical encoding. So I think we have actually one. Yeah, so we had information about where the folks were from, and then this is what their answers to the various questions looked like. And I sort of guessed which number corresponded to which of the multiple choice answers, because I did have access to the original quiz. It was online. It's still online with the Wayback Machine. And so we started over with a fresh copy of the data. I emailed Vertigo, I was like, help! And he sent me a fresh copy of the data. And we started over with the data science portion of it, basically. We redid data cleaning. We are working on retraining our model, and what we've been doing for the last little bit is figuring out how to build the model. So the original data we had this geographic information, and we had the answers. The new data I was sent, we had the latitude and the longitude, but none of the geographic information. So a little bit more more fine-grained, but also, excuse me, am I gonna cough? No, I'm not. More fine-grained, so we had information about where in the country the person was from, like as a location with latitude and longitude, but that's sort of like two things to guess given your input variables, and we were trying to figure out a method that would work for that, and eventually we settled on k-nearest neighbors, but the problem with k-nearest neighbors is it's a classification algorithm, so you need to classify into one group, not do regression on two variables, latitude and longitude, and also treating latitude and longitude as sort of the same and being the same distance apart from each other is gonna skew your results because they are not, right? I think it depends where on the globe you are, but I think 1 degree of... No, one of them's bigger than the other, like, in the world. Like, you have to go further to change one of them than the other, and I don't remember which it is. Pranav says, ACL is tiring me. I'm watching this with a pint of beer and a cup of sliced peanuts. That sounds very relaxing. Yeah, I'm really glad that conferences are online, A, for health and safety reasons, and B, I think it's just much more accessible for folks. And C, it's much better for the environment. Like, flying is not flying makes a lot of carbon. But I would agree. I find online conferences much more tiring than real conferences. I think a big part of that is I like to see my friends and hang out, and I don't really get that aspect quite as much. Good day, Anarchy. Welcome back. It's good to be seeing you in the streams. Some water with electrolytes. So, what we've been doing for the last little bit is just like a lot of thinking out loud and trying to figure out stuff. And what we decided at the end of last time was that this latitude longitude thing was not going to work, or there probably are methods to make it work. I just don't know them because this isn't my specialty. And on some kind of cursory investigation, I couldn't find something that was open source that I could use to solve this problem. So there are some like very proprietary mapping packages and things that had sort of approaches that might have worked. But also, it's a big data set. We got something like 47,000 rows. And once we've done the geocoding, about 200 columns, so it's pretty wide. Well, okay, it's not hugely wide, but for a quiz, that's pretty big. So working from that. And what I decided to do was go through and take the latitude and longitude and reverse geocode that. So I got other pieces of information from it. And I first tried to do that locally using the reverse geocoder library. Let me pull this up. Is it this one? Nope, that's our code. Oh, this is, no, I think that's going to be the older one. We're looking for an IPy. Yeah, nope. So this is the first model that we trained. Rachel, you should clean up your directory structure a bit. Yeah, you're right, straw person. So this is, I went and I did just batch geocode it, and I just paid some service to do it. It was like $20 US, which for me right now is perfectly doable and within my budget. I completely understand not going to be available for everybody financially. But that's what I did. And this is the old classifier. Is it this one that we were working from? Initial data cleaning and preparation. Nope, that's not it either. Let's just pull these in. Answers for input validation. This is what we're going to add to our assistant. So these are the answers to our new questions, which are slightly different than the answers to our old questions. So again, lots of differences between the data set. One of these IPy-NBs. Here we go. Latitude, longitude classifier. This is what we're doing. So some things we tried removing points outside the US. That required doing the reverse geocoding, and it takes about 600 milliseconds per item to geocode. And because we have, again, 47,000 items, I let that run all day, and it did not finish. That's a slow one. And I thought it might have been like my time complexity that I was adding by the way I was writing the loop, and no, it's slow. Because it's a lookup and a pretty big thing. And what I actually found out when doing the geocoding and paying for it is that they just don't do points outside of the United States. So point is moot. It's been done, which is lovely. Robbie says, how are you doing today? I'm doing okay, thank you. Not too bad. Assuming I don't have connectivity issues. It's extremely frustrating because it splits the YouTube videos into multiple videos. And there's no way to merge YouTube videos anymore. You used to be able to do it. Can't anymore. I'm very frustrated by this. I've been trying to find a solution to this for weeks, and there just isn't a good one. Because if I download them and then smush them together and then re-upload them, A, it takes ages because they're very long, and B, I lose all of your comments, and I think the comments are so important. I don't wanna lose the chat. So if anyone has a good solution, please let me know. I can't find a way to get the chat out through the YouTube API, and I'm just frustrated by it. Anyway. So we have done the encodings. We've done one hot encoding, which means that every answer for every question is a separate column, and it's a 0 if somebody did not pick that answer, and a 1 if they did pick it. KNN is a spatial-based model, so if you have, say, the way we had it in the original data, where it is it still open? Start with a B, right? Did it not start? Huh. Okay. Maybe I'm just not good at reading today. No, it started with a B. It's right there. Anyway, so if we get something like this, where we have answers between 1 and 7, it looks like, a 7 and a 1 would be further from each other in this question than this one, which looks like it's between 0 and 5. And we don't necessarily want to say that whatever the answers are to this question are farther apart in some spatial sense than these ones, because they're not. They should be sort of the same distance from each other, because there's no inherent distance in the words, if that makes sense. I mean, you could use edit distance, but many of these are things where the words are just different. So like firefly, lightning bug, that sort of thing. So we did one hot encoding to handle the sort of inherent bias of questions with more answers being treated as more discriminative, even if they aren't. And now we are not going to do this. We're going to train our classifier to take in the one hot encoded data and then return two things. So right now I have state in the data and I have county. So we checked with the other encoder and it handled counties pretty well. So not every state in the US has counties. New Orleans has parishes, for example, and some states like Virginia, cities are not part of the counties that they abut. They are separate, governmental entities that are independent, so they're incorporated. I realize that's a lot of US history that you probably don't care about, but what it means is that county isn't necessarily always going to be the best choice. More water, but I didn't check the service that I used, and I just hope that I got my money's worth and they did something reasonable with places that don't have counties. And we'll find out. So I've already done all my data merging there between the information that we had, the dialect information, and the spatial information. And here's the approaches that we've looked at, and we're going to go with K nearest neighbors. And we tried sort of a little bit of a dumb thing where we just took the one nearest neighbor, and it actually seemed to do pretty okay. So I feel good about this approach. I think it's going to work. Now we just have to make it work. So let's kick it off from the top. So we want to import our libraries. Where are we? All right. And this is the dialect data should now have the cities. So let's do it ahead. Nope. Let's check that out. So you can see that we have user ID, county, state, and then the dialect information. So I removed the latitude and the longitude. And then we have the reverse geocoding, which we're not actually going to do because we've already done it. And then the one hot encoding. So let's pop this in. I think actually we're going to need to... That's right. Okay, we didn't remove latitude and longitude. We moved it to the end. And as you can see, now county is also being one hot encoded, and we don't want that. We want that to be treated as a class label. And that has also made our data about 10 times wider. So we had about 175 columns when we were doing one hot encoding just on the answers, and now we have about 1,700. So... what do I need to do? I need to... I bet there's a way to not consider some of your columns. And it's just two columns that we don't want to consider, and that is state and county. pd.get... oh, wait. There we go. This should work. Domain A, columns N, sparse first, drop first. Let's see what that, drop first sounds, whether to get K-1. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Column names in the data frame to be encoded. If it's none, then all columns with object or category D type will be converted. Is there any way to do the inverse, potentially? Looks like not. Ugh. So what I mean by the inverse is instead of providing the names of all the columns, because I have 25 that I want to encode, 22-ish there, 20s. I want to provide the name of the two columns I don't want to encode. And I think I'm just going to have to create a variable for that. All right. And then columns is the thing that we want here. Let's add that. All right. All right, and then all I want to do is data names. Is that going to be the names of the columns? Let's find out. No. Is this going to be the names of the columns? That's not a function. That's an attribute. Excellent. And then I want to take the 0, 1, 2, third to the end. Is that going to work? 14 is the first one, and then latitude and longitude will not be encoded, but won't be one-hot encoded because getDummies ignores things that are not of type object, which is categorical variables. Awesome, so we should be good there. So let's try those. And now it's taking longer. Remember how it was very fast the last time? All right, it works, but something about specifying columns makes it much slower. Like, much slower. I'm curious. Let's just see how much slower it is. This is surprising to me. I guess maybe it's just looping over columns, but my approach would probably be to drop and then add them back, and that shouldn't increase the time complexity. I mean, famous last words, that shouldn't increase the time complexity. But if this is the case, that's a good thing to know about using this function in the future. Hey, John. And Robbie said row and then column. Oh, so I think what I'm doing here with data.columns is I'm getting a list of an array of all of the column names, and then I'm just dropping the first 4 because I don't care about them. No, that's not fair. I care deeply about them. I just don't want them to be one-hot encoded because I'm gonna get a Y data, and also they're not input variables. They are target variables. Some more electrolytes. It's taken a while. Yeah, it was very fast the first time. So I guess the thing that it might be causing it to be fast is that it's like cached somewhere and then it's not actually faster at all. But if that's the case, shouldn't this also be cached somewhere? I don't know. I'm suspicious about this getDummies function now. So we'll just let that run for a little bit. And then when we get in the participant responses, we are going to do data validation. It's going to be, we're going to convert it into a data frame, and then we're going to go through and we're going to, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the align function with a left join because the participant responses is not going to have state and county because we don't know that. That's what we're trying to guess. And using align will create those columns with empty inputs, which is what we're looking for. Rohit says, I have a question. I do not see your question. And John says, have you guys requested GPT-3 API access from OpenAI? I haven't. Yeah. No, that's my answer. At least me. All right, so 13 seconds per loop as opposed to 400 milliseconds per loop. Yeah. Doing it column-wise is way slower. Way slower. Like 26 times slower. Wonder why that is. Anyway, good for y'all to know. It's just slower. And we do not have to do the skin because we've read that, and this looks correct to me. So what I was thinking is that we could try 2 KNNs, one at the county level and one at the state level. County is going to be a little bit more precise. State might be a little bit more interpretable, particularly from people not from the United States, because I don't know where Northampton County is, or Chittenden County, Berkshire County. Maybe I've heard of that. Maybe it's just because the name Berkshire is associated with other things. All right, so let's do it. So the nearest neighbors classifier. I think we actually want to do something slightly different with the terrain and test, because we want to, let's start with state level. So state level is going to be 50 plus, depending on if places that the United States holds as colonies, basically, like Puerto Rico and American Samoa, that, yeah, whether or not that should be the case is a separate discussion. But those places are considered states or not. So 50-ish would be my guess. So I think we're going to start with states, and I'm just going to really quickly check out how to specify the variable, and actually I think the easiest way to do that is going to be look up the documentation. What are the options? Test size, trait size, range size, shuffle, stratify. No. Okay, so pulling out 2 separate data frames. Yes. Okay, that should be fine. I just had a worry. About our encoder. And my worry is, does Align maintain the mapping of classes to numbers? And that's a problem for future Rachael. But I'm just gonna make a little notey note of it. Okay. Because I think this one is all 0, so if it just sort of picks a mapping randomly or however it's doing it and just doesn't match the one that I'm going for, because we're going to be doing this row-wise, so we're going to have one user at a time, and if it just gives them all ones for their encoding, that's going to be a problem for me in the future. And we can check that out in the future, but right now I just want to make sure that our classifier works. So, let's call this state label is going to be data dot state. Is that not what it is? Let's try this. Data dot here. Rohit says, do I have to do that manually, or is there any other way because the data is huge? Rohit, I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're trying to do manually. There is a little bit of a delay between the chat and the me in the chat. So if that was in reference to something I said in passing, just like bring up the specific thing that it was. And then Tafakizamran, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, says, I just realized I never tried to open Jupyter Notebooks inside VS Code. Yeah, it's fairly recent that you can do that. Wow, that's taking a while. Did not expect that to be the case. Dot state, capital S. Just goodbye. So this is going to throw an error, but hopefully it's going to throw an error not at this line. That's what I'm looking for. It'll throw an error because I haven't passed any arguments to nearest neighbors, and it definitely needs some. Let's save this. Why are you just thinking? Is there another cell that's running somewhere? Nope, that's the only cell that's running. Let's try restarting, because that should not take that long just to get the head of an existing data set. Because we restarted, we need to load everything back in. That's much more reasonable. We don't need to do the reverse geocoding. We don't need to time it. This is going to take about 13 seconds. And then double check that it worked good. And then that should be good. And then what I want to do for the train test split. I can never remember which one goes first. Yeah, okay, that one didn't take forever. I don't know why it was hanging like that. Mysterious. I've just got the test train split. There we go. Open in another column, and then it is X encoded data, and then stay little. La ville. I should probably actually split this here. What is that? Alt Shift? Nope. Control Shift minus? Alt Control Shift minus hyphen? Nope, that just made it smaller. I know there's a shortcut for splitting cells, and I don't remember what it is. Actually, let's just, we don't need you anymore. Okay. State label, and then I also want just the input features, and those are going to be the ones that are does latitude and longitude still at the end. Well, we have solved the mystery of why it was taking so long to print, so that's good. All right, so we don't actually want to do all this. So we want to drop the four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Make sure that works. It do. 118 was the last one here. Was it the last one here? 118. 118. All right, we should be good to go. We also don't want latitude and longitude, actually, so I am okay with that. Actually, I think I just want to drop latitude and longitude completely. Like, it's okay to have them in the data set, but I don't want them in this classifier at all. So let's do that at the top. Is drop not an argument? Beans. Pandas, drop, rows. I genuinely thought it was drop. It is drop. It just didn't autocomplete. So we're gonna drop. Does it need a list? What are you looking for here? Oh, this is god awful. It's not in alphabetical order at all, even a little bit. There we go. Oh wait, no. Okay, so that's just the heading at the top, which is expanded for reasons beyond human ken. Labels 1. Axis. Oh, you can just say that axis is columns. That's fun. Axis equals columns. C-O-L-U-M-N-S. Yes. And then I want to index list like. So list, and we want to drop lat, and we want to drop which here stands for longitude. Positional argument follows keyword argument. All right, and now, oh, right, I need to reassign it. Okay, let's do that. Now if we look at the head and we go all the way over 23 columns, that sounds about right. We don't have any latitude or longitude at the end. Fantastic. All right. And actually, I'm gonna leave this here for now. I might need it before I do anything else with the code. I'm gonna get rid of that because I don't actually need it long term. Robbie said, I'm remembering we also do feature scaling with the one hot data set. Can I see your data set? No, I do not have permission to share it. All right, so that's better, and now this isn't gonna work. So won't work. Have removed. So we can cut off a note. And actually, this might be even faster now that we don't have the big wide one. No, it doesn't look like. Okay. 3 through 23 still try. Actually, I think I can remove this now because Q118 will be the last one. Yep. And let's encode everything. And now we should have something that's a reasonable size. 175. That's what I'm looking for. Fantastic. All right. So at this point, input features are going to be columns. Encoded data, and then we want columns. How do we columns? It's iLock, right? It drives me up the wall that you index into columns and rows separate ways in pandas. Just up the wall. I understand why. I get it because of the underlying mechanical differences between Python and R. It frustrates me. Pandas and get columns by index. Column index, accessing by rows, selecting rows, number of columns, the index and selecting data. So I'm looking for, love to scroll through the pandas documentation. Label base may be used with a Boolean array. iLock is integer-based position, but also may be used with Boolean array. Also indexing is a callable indexer. Row and column. Okay, so we should be able to do